Howdy, 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 back at it again. Today's video is going to cover Marisa's anti-air options, which ones work from which ranges, as well as dispelling 2 myths or misconceptions about her anti-airs. If you like this type of content, if you want to see more of it, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to grow it in year 3, and I'd really appreciate the support. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So the first myth that I would like to dispel is that her crouch heavy punch just can't cut it as an anti-air. It's just no good. It's just not fair. This thing's fine. It's serviceable. It works from a lot of ranges. It works from up close. It works from this round start position. If you do it early, it'll never lose, ever. Has a very good vertical hitbox. The only thing is because she stands up first, if you push it late, it can lose, especially against things like Ken's jump heavy punch that have really good vertical hitboxes, right? But if you push it early, it won't lose. Okay, like there you see, oh, it's getting beaten. And that's a spot where, like, I think JP crouch heavy punch or like Ryu crouch heavy punch would trade, but those wouldn't win clean either. But she can also push this thing way earlier than they can, right? Like if Ryu pushed it right, like here, it would probably whiff, right? Where Marisa's hits. But, so it's kind of a trade-off. Now, that's not saying it's perfect. It does have some, I think, pretty serious weaknesses. The main thing being, if you're a little further away, it can whiff, right? Especially if they empty jump. So let me show that. If they empty jump, right, and you're anticipating a button, this thing can just whiff, which is not good, right? So you have to figure out, okay, what are some options that'll go around that? And the main thing is, against the, like, far whiffing, the best thing is light Dema, right? Has upper body invincibility, and it moves you forward a little bit, which is good. And it also isn't threatened by empty jump at all, even from like this sort of a range, right? The main issue with light Dema is if you do it too close, you just go right under them, right? Which is an issue, right? So if I'm like from here, not from there, from here, this just whiffs and I get a gigantic punish on me, which is not good, okay? So like, okay, well, what about medium Dema, right? That just got buffed and that gets a ton of reward. Why don't I just use that? Well, that's myth number 2. Okay, so the myth number 2 is that this is the anti-air that she finally deserved and it gives her a ton of reward and it's gonna, you know, cure cancer and send your kids to college and do your taxes and all this other stuff. I'm sorry, it's just not true, okay? So what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is this quarter circle takes me about 10 frames to do. And if I'm just looking for the jump and I'm just trying to be like, oh, cool, look at my YouTube video. Isn't this such a good anti-air? Look, it's such a good anti-air. Okay? But if I put on some other options here, such as like him walking around doing crouch medium kick, or him just doing like walk into pretty much nothing, and then I try to react to the jump, it's very difficult for me to get this to come out on time if I'm looking at anything else, right? Even if I'm not going to whiff punish, it's very difficult for me to get this quarter circle out fast enough to actually hit. And there you see it still does have the issue where you can go underneath them. And like, I just can't get this to win, okay? Now, actually, let me show you. With crouch heavy punch, I don't have this problem at all, right? Because it comes out 7 frames faster, and I don't have to do an input. I can just hit down and hit heavy punch. And I can still get the anti-air in time every time. And I can still be paying attention and try to whiff punish some stuff. So if you're just walking around playing neutral and you're not going to dedicate 100% of your mental stack, I think crouch heavy punch is the answer. Unless you play modern, in which case you don't have that extra 10 frames of quarter circle startup, basically, right? And even if you do it fast, it's probably at least 5 or 6 frames, you know, because you can just hit back special. So from here, I'm probably going to still not get it. But on modern, you see like, ooh, look, mom, first try. I get it, and it's in time. So if you play modern, it might be worth trying to figure out what ranges that works from. But on Classic, I'm just not convinced that it's really that good because it doesn't have like the invincibility that an OD Dema has, which is like, as far as I know, completely air invulnerable on like frame 5 or something. And this is only like the shoulders or something. So it doesn't have as much invulnerability, but it's the same speed. So if you're like, oh, I really need this anti-air to get into a combo to kill, you can opt for OD Dema. Or if you need a cheap or free option, like Gladius is always a good alternative. So like Gladius, this used to be what I thought was her go-to anti-air. I've soured on it quite a lot, to be honest with you. But this still is like a 50% combo, and for those of you that are uninitiated or new to the character or whatever, what you want to do is you just hold the punch button down and then release it when you see that you've anti-aired something. And let me just show, because I've been showing this for the other stuff, that there's no problem doing this in time. You see there, that wasn't punish counter or counter hit, so he could have blocked. I did it a little bit late. But I don't think there's any issue doing this on reaction into the level 3. So I think that's really good because it has good reward. Why have I said that I soured on it? Well, mainly it's because it also really struggles with empty jump. So there he's getting hit because I don't have the dummy set to block. But you'll see it's not a punish counter. And there's a big gap if you look at the frame bar. Like, he could block here. And on a lot of these, he can honestly do empty jump into throw and just punish me. And that's really annoying against, like, Zangief doing, like, empty jump SPD or empty jump level 3 or stuff that's just really stupid to do generally. But if this is the only thing you're ever going for as an anti-air, it's really exploitable. So you have to be very careful, especially if you're holding the button to react and release. So, okay, is that just, we should just do crouch heavy punch all the time and that's the only thing we should ever think about? No, I think her best anti-air is definitely her medium punch, air target combo. It doesn't have the range restrictions that crouch heavy punch has. If you do it late, yeah, it's still going to lose. But if you do it late, you can also just opt to maybe jump back instead. And I don't know how I got a quarter circle there. But you can opt to jump back and you'll trade in spots where you'd probably lose if you did crouch heavy punch. You can sort of reset to neutral, but you can also do it from really far away. You don't care if they empty jump. You don't care if they forward jump, anything like that. So I do think that is her best anti-air in general. Now, there's one more situation that I think most Marisas find very annoying, and that's going to be this, right? This cross-up situation, because from here, if I do a crouch heavy punch, it doesn't connect. If I do a Gladius, it doesn't connect. If I do Dema, he goes right over my head. I'm minus 23. Right? It's no fun. And this, again, is where these air-to-airs are really good. Neutral jump, medium punch, target combo. Back jump, medium punch. Or if you react really late, back jump, jab. Right? Jump back jab has a very high vertical hitbox. And it's really going to sort you out against a lot of these cross-ups. Because the only other option you really have is, like, anti-air parry or like dash under, you know, stuff that you generally just kind of don't want to do. But this at least lets you get some damage. Not as much as this, but it's 3 frames faster. And it's very low commitment, right? Like, it's very difficult to get this to lose if they're doing the cross up at a spot that'll like actually hit you. And I think maybe I have him doing this one a bit late, but the point being, this jump back jab is pretty much always going to win. And jump medium punch will win on these cross-up attempts probably 85, 90% of the time. So, in conclusion, this medium Dema, probably not for classic players, probably mostly for modern people. Okay? Light Dema, if they're jumping at you from far away, you can do it. Crouch heavy punch is probably what you should do 90% of the time if you don't want to think about doing an air-to-air. If you're just like, oh, I want to stay on the ground, do this, fine. It can lose to empty jumps from certain ranges, so be careful about that. If you need a bunch of reward, you can go in for a light Gladius. But if you're worried about empty jumps and you need a lot of reward, then you probably want to go in for a OD Dema, right? If you're sure they're going to empty jump, then there's really not a ton of risk for medium Dema, but OD Dema is better as an anti-air in almost every single way. But I think if you're just going, well, what's her best thing against close jumps, against far jumps, against cross-up attempts, it's going to be the air-to-air. Learn it. Love it. Hope this is helpful. As always, have a good time.